Hey guys, at the end, spoken label again. My friend Lindy Newns. We've had a right laugh at this today, Lindy. About completely confusing each other. Honestly, right? It's a good. I wish in some ways I could record just left it running today. It could have been like a stand-up comedy show with things that were going on with us doing this. But anyway, it's been a pleasure. Right? Now, obviously, on to part three now. We're going to do some poetry now. So, not me, of course. Straight up to Lindy, she's going to do. What are you doing? Two from your collection, aren't you? One other piece, or have I forgot that
Yes.
wrong? Yeah.
Yeah, no, one other piece.
Yeah,
Yeah.
take it away, my friend.
Thank you very much. Okay, so this first one was actually published some time ago. It's one of my very first poems that were accepted. It's a pantoum, which means it has a regular rhyme scheme and rhythm to it. And it's about my brother's time in the Marines in the Falklands. He wasn't on the Galahad. He knew people on the Galahad. He was on the Invincible, which was also hit, but nothing badly. Nightmare. At night he shudders, sweats, and cries on burning deck, on sea of stone, sodden sheets between his thighs, duvet white coral, pillow bone. On burning deck, on sea of stone, he hears a sea that mimics sighs, duvet white coral, pillow bone, shrouds of flame smear sombre skies. He hears a sea that mimics sighs, Galahad, burning hulk, beds down, shrouds of flame smear sombre skies, brothers sinking, missing, drowned. Galahad, burning hulk, beds down, sodden sheets between his thighs, brothers sinking, missing, drowned. At night he shudders, sweats, and cries. So that was the poem about
Beautiful stuff. That beautiful
um,
stuff. That one.
thank you.
Two questions on this one for you then.
Yeah,
Obviously, for people obviously don't know what a pontoon is, I'll let you
pontoon,
educate
yeah.
them. Yeah, been a while since I've wrote one of them actually.
Yeah, it's got a very wait a second. Um it's got a very regular structure. So hold on, I'm just trying to find it again, I beg your pardon. Yeah, it's got a very regular structure, so it rhymes. Each line, the first line is repeated later in the poem, and then again at the end. And you end up with all the lines repeated in a set pattern. So it's very regular, and it's usually used for poems which you want to create the impression of something slow and steady and always there, and it's difficult to get away from it. It repeats and repeats.
Yes, it's a great form. What made you want to use this form then for this poem about your brother?
I, I, to be honest, I don't know. I think I was experimenting with form at the time, so I was working and pantoum. Somebody else, I'd heard somebody at a writing group use a pantoum, and I was just wondering if I could use my brother's experience. And because it's called nightmare, so the repetition in a nightmare, you can repeat the same thing, or you have the same nightmares. And I thought that might be a good form to use for that particular subject matter.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's really it gives that sort of earthiness. I think it works really well with this piece, Lindy. Definitely so. But anyway, less of me, more of you. Back to poem number two.
Poem number two is it's called Rough Terrain, and it's about him in the flat that I got him into, which he couldn't really look after himself properly. By the not at first, he was still going out and things, but after a year or so, he was finding it really difficult. And so I've the collection of poems about my brother. I'm giving them military titles. So whereas before I just called this Haibon, which is another form of poem, I called it hostile terrain. And a Haibon is a section of prose followed by a haiku at the end to round it all off. And this is called, as I say, hostile terrain. He's trapped, sits slumped on the grubby, overstuffed sofa he and a neighbour lugged up the stairs sometime last year. What's happened to him? His doctor says it's all in the mind. His doctor says, of course he can walk. His doctor says he only needs to try. His doctor is professional. His doctor is convincing. But what his doctor says is frightening. To lose his mind? He must try harder. He was a Marine. His legs carried him 30 clicks a day with full pack and rifle. Physical weakness? Anathema. He's ashamed. He keeps the windows shut. He props cardboard and paper against the panes, covers every inch of glass. Nobody must see what he's become. It's spring outside, but in here, spring is helpless to intervene, winter being so persistent. The sofa's damp under his skinny thighs. He scents the whiff of piss, but is afraid to move, to try the rise to upright and to fail. Shame. Safer to ignore the gnawing ache in his bowels, to close his eyes and blank out the world and the door, an impossible distance across that hard floor.
Wow, again, beautiful, powerful stuff, that one, Lindy. Now, that's a form I've not come across before, actually. So, what made you want to? Was that another writing exercise when you trying to experiment with your format? Because that's really quite technical piece you've done there, really. I think it's beautiful anyway.
Thanks. It started off, the last bit, the haiku, started off as part of a different poem. It had the same subject matter, but it was written in haikus. And then I read about the haibon, and I thought, well, actually, a prose beginning is probably a better way to do it, because the poem all in haikus made it sound a bit forced, a bit like a puzzle I was trying to fit together. I mean, I sometimes think about the pantoum I did as one of my earliest pieces, The Nightmare I read. So I decided to go with the haibon and make it mainly prose, and then just use what I thought were the 3 telling lines from the original poem at the end.
Yeah, it's a good idea, that, really, because doing what you've done there, because it's a good trick for anyone to learn, like, how to strip down your poem to make something a different meaning out of it. Because I've done that before when a longer poem where it ended up becoming 4 poems because I kept cutting things out of it and just, getting that pair of scissors on, like the William S. Brothers approach. And that's what you've done there. It's very, very effective. Really, really good stuff. So, okay, let's go to the big conclusion now. Then, if I could play guitar, Lindy, I'll be doing all the Deep Purple stuff. You big guitar solo, but I can't. So, take it away, my friend.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get this again, which I've managed to. Oh dear me! I beg your pardon. I will. All right, so this poem is also in the book. When my brother was up here, I used to take him to the doctors and to the hospital and so on, and to meetings with housing, all of those sort of things. And he used to carry this sort of duffel bag around with him, and in it he had a green faux leather folder, and inside that was his testimonial from his commanding officer, and he always wanted to show everyone the testimonial, because I think he didn't want them to think less of him for not being as fit and able as he used to be. So it was always a certificate of discharge and testimonial. And his actual testimonial started off: Lindy Newns joined the Corps in 1981 and was sent to 45 Commando, where he quickly gained operational experience during the Falklands campaign. And then it said he's a polite, reasonable man who works well without supervision and has demonstrated some potential as a leader. So what I did was I took parts of the testimonial that he used to take around with him, and I was horrible to him in some ways, because I used to feel embarrassed that he wanted to take it out, until I realized just how much it meant to him that he could still be seen as someone who at least once had been, in his eyes, a man, because manhood for him was very much attached to physical abilities. So I just took little bits out of the testimonial by his commanding officer and interspersed them so that they turned into a poem. And this is it. Testimonial. He gained operational experience in the Falklands campaign. He was 19, sent a letter home from the Invincible asking for suntan lotion. He's a polite, reasonable man, works well without supervision. Now they supervise him, change his sheets, wipe his bum, put food beside his bed, and leave. He maintained an outstanding level of fitness and was a serious contender in national standard triathlons, which requires dedication and sacrifice. Now we are dedicated to keeping him alive, however hard it is for him to live. Unfortunately, he's decided to leave the Corps before realizing his full potential. Now he's slowly leaving life behind without fully realizing that his pleasant, amiable approach will be missed. Okay,
that's excellent. Again, yeah, I like the way you've done that as well, because that's one of the hardest things to write poetry like that. It's almost like you've done a found poetry, haven't you? On like a report on your brother, really. And you've
yeah.
just like you've used the language, what you've took away from the original things and made it something completely different. And it's really, really, very, very poignant. Not. Did you find that with it been so close to yourself, that was it twice as hard to write, or do you find it quite easier, really?
Um, I'm not sure, and I'm not sure what my purpose was in doing it either. I think it is as a form of apology, and because I didn't look after him as well as I might have done. I don't think I'm not blaming myself because I had a life. I was working, all sorts of things going on, and my mother was still in Chorlton and needed care as well because she was suffering from dementia. But he was, I can, he was a very loving person. So he wasn't suited to the Marines in a lot of ways. He was trying to prove himself a man, but actually he was quite gentle, quite artistic and creative. And I think to have been as kind as I should have been, I would have been more maternal and not angry with him for being sick, which is what I was quite a lot of the time. So
Yeah.
it's really, yeah, it's some of it's hard, some of it's easy.
Yeah, and understandable. Actually, it's a great piece again. It was it. It brought a lump to my throat. Then I was hearing that. Then I think you've done that one at Speakeasy. I'm sure I've heard it before now. And I remember making Amanda nearly cry on that one. So yeah, it's job done on that one straight away. But anyway, Lindy, that's all my questions today. Anyway, so give us another plug then. Well, where can people get a hold of your book from again then?
Chorlton Bookshop on Wilbraham Road.
Yeah, it's a good place and it's a great bookshop. So thank you again, Lindy. Hang around because I do need to talk to you off microphone anyway. Been a pleasure today, to be honest. Really,
It's
really
been
enjoyed
wonderful.
it. So.
I'm really honoured for you to have been asked, Andy. And thank you very, very much indeed. It's been great.
Yeah, it's been great fun. So anyway, guys and girls, that's it today. Hopefully next time we're back, Spog Label back, it won't be as chaotic. So hopefully I'll know what I'm doing next time, but it probably won't be. So, but anyway, thank you to the wonderful Lindy Newns again. So, as Don Callis over at AW Wrestling says, stay safe and stay over. See you all next